Hey guys, ExtraEme here with a review slash comparison between the first generation iPod Touch 8 GB and the 4th gen iPod Touch, which I just got over the weekend, 32 GB. Alright, and so I'm going to be doing some speed tests and some comparison for you in this video, and let's jump right in. Alright, starting with not the iPods themselves, but the packaging. Alright, so this is the first generation iPod Touch packaging, and this is the 4th gen iPod Touch packaging. And as you can tell, there's quite a size difference. So you can see the box is much smaller in just general area size. On its side, it's also quite thin. There we go. So you can see height as well and the thickness. Like, it's just crazy. However, with this also comes less features. I do like the box itself. It is a nice box with the padded inside and everything. But the first generation iPod Touch came with a little plastic stand and also a microfiber cloth, which was really nice for them to include with that. They don't do that anymore. Ever since the second generation, they didn't include the dock or the little stand, and with the 4th generation, it doesn't include the cloth. So I found that this stand doesn't work on the second generation or 3rd generation at all. But on the 4th generation, it only works in landscape view, versus the iPod Touch 1st generation, which it was made for, can handle any direction. Well, not any direction, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so that's just the boxes. As you can see, 32 GB. Alright, so now to the touches themselves. I am filming this with my new webcam, so it's in 1080p for you. Alright, so this, let me load up some specs here. While I'm doing that, the first generation iPod Touch has a lot less general features, of course, as you would expect, than the 4th generation. You know, duh. I mean, every generation has its upgrades, but for me, it is quite a major upgrade from the 1st generation to the 4th generation, and quite worth it, in my opinion. Alright, so the specs are, in the 1st generation iPod, which is what I have right here on the left side, it is the 8 GB capacity. It has 128 megabytes of RAM and no Bluetooth, just USB, dock connector, Wi-Fi, BG. That's it. It was released in September 5th of 2007, and it has 22 hours. It can use 22 hours of audio playback and 5 hours of video playback. And the 4th generation, this is the 32 GB capacity, has 256 megabytes of RAM, so considerable amount. This is also running the Apple A4 processor, which is a much better processor. It has Bluetooth and BGN Wi-Fi, so that and it was released September 8th of 2010, and 40 hours of video. That is little less than 2 hours less than double the amount of audio playback you could get before, and then 2 more hours of video playback, making 7 hours of video playback. Alright, so enough boring you with the specs. Let's get on with the regular video on here showing you the iPod Touches themselves. Right, so on the 1st gen, on the top, you'll notice from the orientation I'm holding it at, the sleep wake button is on the left, and there's no buttons around the side, just pretty boring. The only thing is on the bottom, it has the dock connector and it has the headphone jack. No speaker built in, and on the back it's a flat back. 8 GB. It has the reflective finish and the little Wi-Fi antenna spot there. Everything else is just standard iPod Touch style. And on the 4th generation, you can see that there is a dot there. That's the camera. You can't see the infrared thing. That's just for the auto brightness. There's one right around here. There, I think. I don't know. But you don't care about that. Anyway, there's a VGA camera right here, so not HD. And on the side, it has the volume up and volume down, which is different from the 2nd and 3rd generation, as that was just a unifying rocker. These are 2 separate buttons. I guess to, I don't know why they did that, but it does look pretty cool. The button on the top is moved down a little bit. Well, actually, all these buttons are moved down a little bit towards the back to make it more smooth, and the buttons don't pop out as much. The button with the same orientation, it's on the right side this time, so it's a little bit of getting used to compared to all the other generations, really. And on the back, there's no Wi-Fi little spot there. Instead, there is a 720p HD video camera and focusing camera there with a little microphone there, so built-in mic. And on the bottom, as you can, let me see if I can get that focused. Needs to focus. There we go. I think. Anyway, so I don't know if you can see that. There we go. Anyway, there on the left side, that's the speaker. It is a separate speaker, which it actually sounds really good. I am not disappointed with it. On the 2nd and 3rd gen, the speaker was actually in the dock itself, and it sounded kind of bad. But at least there was a speaker there, and this one is just much more improved. So the dock connector and the headphone jack, this one actually supports a separate mic or the controls on the headphones. The 1st generation did not. So that is the hardware tour of the 2 iPod Touches. Alright, and I just finished restoring the 1st generation iPod Touch to make it more of a fair comparison, because I had it jailbroken, and that slowed down the operating system a little bit. So when you, so when you unlock the 1st generation iPod Touch, there's a little bit of a speaker, same like the click wheel on the any other iPod, like standard iPod. Actually, the best iPod to use it on is the iPod Classic, because everything else doesn't use a click wheel anymore. Sorry about the shaking camera. Anyway, so when you unlock it, you hear a little tiny click, and that's it. On this iPod Touch, you hear a full unlock sound. It's actually a sound effect that it has, and also when you lock it, it's just a better sound effect. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, let's do a Wi-Fi speed test. These are both connected to the same Wi-Fi network, as you can see. Alright, and we're going to load up a website. Actually, I learned this in another video. It's actually best to go to settings. If you're doing a comparison, go to Safari in the settings and make sure you clear your history, you clear your cookies, and you clear your cache. That way nothing is slowing down your iPod. Alright, so now I guess a website we can use is espn.com. As you can see, have it there. pn.com. Alright, and I have to do this on the hand, so I have to make a weird hand gesture to go to the pages. So again, this is the 4th gen, this is the 1st gen. So 3, 2, 1, go. And they're off. So you can see this one's half loaded and it's done. This one is just finished. Alright, and these are the mobile sites. So there was a significant difference in the time that loaded between the 1st generation and 4th generation iPod Touches. So I'm gonna see here. Let's go to another website here. I also just noticed that my 4th gen had other pages open, so let's close those. Alright. Let's go to another one. Let's go to the iPod Touch user guide. So let me get my hands on these in 3, 2, 1. They're off. Here we go. It's gonna do a couple redirects, and this one, the 4th generation finished, and the 1st generation is still loading. Still loading. Taking forever. And still loading. This website needs an additional 5 megabytes of state. Wow. Okay. Wow. Alright, so still loading, although I do find that kind of unfair that we had that little pop-up. So I guess we're gonna have to check a different website. But as you can tell, still, even with the connection, it's a little bit ridiculous. So we're gonna go to iPhone web applications. 3, 2, what the heck? 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, and they're off. 4th generation's almost there. You can already see pictures. You can start scrolling. Processor handles the page pretty well, although it's still up to Wi-Fi to view the page. Alright, and the 4th generation finished. 1st generation just finished. Alright, so there you can tell that there's a significant difference in the times it takes to load up a web page between these two devices. And now my computer is not a wireless end computer, so these are both operating off of wireless G, so it is the same type of Wi-Fi. Alright, let's go into camera on the 4th generation iPod Touch, because the 4th generation iPod Touch actually has a camera, and there's nothing to compare on the 1st generation iPod. So as you can see, there is the camera. You can barely see it. Well, there it is, a little bit better. I have the brightness turned down on my iPod so you can see everything better. You can focus on the iPod Touch by tapping on where you want to focus. You can also zoom on the rear-facing camera, and you can also do video recording as well in HD. And if you want to view yourself in standard video or standard definition, hit this little button in the corner, which you can hardly see. There you go. And you can view your face or your own camera. And you can focus, but you can't zoom, unfortunately. Alright, so that's the camera. Alright, and so one major reason why I got the 4th generation iPod Touch was not only that, but also the speed of the whole system. It's a lot quicker to go between pages. This is just a little bit slower. Actually, a lot of it slower, especially when it was jailbroken. It was 10 times worse. Exaggeration. Alright, but with the first generation iPod Touch, they disallowed upgrading the operating system to 4.0. I guess to help keep the iPod as speedy as possible. But the fourth generation iPod Touch comes with 4.0. And so you can move um, items into folders on the fourth generation iPod Touch with the new iOS, which is really cool because now I don't have to have 12 pages of apps that I once had, and they can all be stored in folders where they can be organized better. And even though my brother doesn't